The world before the flood was unlike anything known today, a place of endless beauty, yet unspeakable horrors, where men lived for centuries, angels walked among mortals, and knowledge flowed directly from the divine. Yet beneath its splendor, a darkness grew, a corruption that would bring forth divine wrath. After the banishment of Adam and Eve, mankind expanded into the wilderness, settling in fertile lands watered by the mighty rivers of Eden, the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. The descendants of Adam multiplied, spreading knowledge and building vast cities of stone and earth, learning to work the land and harness the elements. Towers and temples rose, and the first civilizations thrived. The first cities were not just settlements, but centers of wisdom and power, places where mankind sought dominion over the elements. There were great towers built to the heavens, vast fields of golden grain stretching under the sun, and sacred altars where the first offerings to the Most High were made. Civilization flourished, and for a time, it seemed as though harmony between man and the divine would endure. The knowledge that Adam had passed to his descendants contained insights into the natural world, the stars, and the balance of creation. Men developed language, music, architecture, and the first forms of governance. They mastered the use of fire and metal, creating crafting tools and instruments that allowed them to till the earth and hunt the beasts of the field. It was a time of great learning and prosperity, a world where the spiritual and the physical intertwined. But among them were the cursed descendants of Cain, who had been driven east of Eden to the land of Nod. There, Cain built the first city, naming it after his son, Enoch. His descendants became the first artisans, musicians, and metal workers, forging instruments of war. It was from this bloodline that violence, greed, and pride first took root, as they delved into arts and sciences forbidden by the Most High. Their cities were filled with corruption, ruled by men who worshipped their own strength rather than the Creator. Their influence grew, spreading across the lands like a creeping shadow. The righteous descendants of Seth, who had remained faithful to the Most High, watched in sorrow as their brethren turned to wickedness. Some resisted, continuing to uphold the laws of God, but many were lured by the wealth and pleasures of Cain's lineage, and thus the line between good and evil blurred. It was during this age that mankind sought to understand the mysteries of the heavens and the earth. They gazed upon the stars, searching for signs, and devised early forms of astronomy. Some, guided by wisdom, sought to understand the divine order, while others, driven by ambition, sought to manipulate the natural world for their own gain. And above them, unseen yet watchful, the watchers witnessed this thirst for knowledge. At first, they marveled at the ingenuity of men, at their ability to create and build. But soon, some among them saw more than mere curiosity. They saw desire, ambition, and beauty in the daughters of men. This desire was the first step toward their great fall. The Watchers were angelic beings appointed by the Most High to oversee and guide mankind. They stood on the borders of heaven and earth, observing the growing numbers of men from the celestial heights. For centuries they remained obedient, fulfilling their charge as guardians. They watched as men harnessed the land, built great structures, and began forming societies governed by law and order. They observed the prayers of the righteous, those who still called upon the name of the Lord, and the wickedness of those who abandoned him. But over time, as they gazed upon the daughters of men, a forbidden lust ignited within them. Their leader Shemihaza whispered the words that would seal their fate. "Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men and beget us children." At first, there was hesitation. Some feared the wrath of God. They knew the punishment for defiling their heavenly nature with mortal flesh. But Shemihaza, determined, bound them all to an oath. Hidden in the shadows of night, 200 watchers fell upon Mount Hermon, their feet touching the earth for the first time. They swore their oath of rebellion, pledging themselves to this great sin, and took human women as wives, defiling themselves with mortal flesh. With their arrival, they did more than simply take wives. The Watchers taught humanity secrets of heaven, granting them forbidden knowledge that was never meant for mortal minds. Azazel, one of the chief Watchers, taught men the art of war, how to forge swords, knives, shields, and breastplates, thus introducing violence and bloodshed to the earth. Shemihaza and his followers revealed the mysteries of sorcery and divination, enabling men to manipulate the elements and foresee omens. Barakiel unveiled the secrets of astrology, charting the movements of the stars and guiding kings. Under the influence of the Watchers, women painted their faces, cast charms, and wove love spells to bend men's wills. This knowledge, once pure and holy, was twisted into corruption and sin, leading mankind deeper into darkness. And from these unholy unions, the Nephilim, a race of hybrid offspring, part angel, part human, were born. Unlike mortal men, they grew at an unnatural rate, colossal in stature, some reaching heights of 30 feet. Their voices were thunderous, and their eyes burned like fire. Their strength was unmatched, their appetites insatiable, and their hearts filled with wickedness. Their dominion was absolute. They raised great cities, building them from the bones of the men they enslaved. They created vast monuments, towering ziggurats dedicated to their fallen fathers, where sacrifices were made in blood. Their bodies were unlike those of men. Some had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Others had double rows of teeth, features that marked them as unnatural beings, neither fully human nor divine. Legends whispered that some among them could call upon the dark arts, wielding powers granted to them by their fallen fathers. And they saw themselves as gods, and they ruled as tyrants over mankind. But their hunger was not just for power, it was for flesh. At first, they consumed the cattle, the sheep, and the beasts of the field. But when that was not enough, they turned on mankind itself. Their cruelty knew no bounds. The blood of the innocent ran through the streets, and the world, once peaceful, became a land of oppression and terror. Even nature itself recoiled from their wickedness. The land, once fertile and abundant, grew barren and desolate. The skies darkened, storms raged, and the very elements seemed to cry out for justice. And justice was coming. The archangels of heaven, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, stood before the throne of God, beholding the horrors upon the earth. The Nephilim had become monsters, and mankind was all but lost. The Watchers' corruption seeped into all living things, even the beasts of the earth. Together with their human sorcerers, they tampered with creation, melding species into monstrous hybrids. Beasts with human forms, winged terrors, and reptilian horrors roamed the land, abominations that defied the natural order and further provoked God's wrath. The cup of wickedness overflowed, and the wrath of God drew near. Judgment was set upon the earth, and so the flood was decreed. The archangel Gabriel was sent forth to stir up war among the Nephilim, turning them against each other. The once united giants, who had ruled as gods, now turned their weapons upon each other, their immense power tearing the land apart. The archangel Michael, alongside the hosts of heaven, led the charge against the Watchers. By divine command, they were cast into the abyss beneath the earth, bound in chains to await the final judgment. As their fathers fell, the remaining Nephilim fought desperately to survive, but the judgment had only just begun. the sky darkened, and the earth trembled. On that day all the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, releasing a deluge unlike anything seen before. Torrents of rain crashed down, rivers swelled into oceans, and the earth itself was swallowed by the waters. The Nephilim, once proud and mighty, clambered for higher ground, their monstrous strength useless against the wrath of the Almighty. There was no escape. The waters rose higher and higher, swallowing entire cities, toppling temples, and silencing the wicked forever. And thus, the era of giants ended, and the last of the Nephilim vanished beneath the flood. Yet their spirits did not perish. Bound by their wickedness, they became disembodied spirits, demons cursed to wander the earth until the final judgment. And there was one man, righteous in the eyes of God, chosen to start the world anew. His name was Noah.